Yeah, what's going on, family? How everyone's doing? As you can see, it's about 1:30 in the morning or evening, right? For those who understand, you get it, right? Anyway, I'm up. I got the little one here with me. He's up. I got my youngest, my 2-year old. He's a bully. Anyway, I wanted to share this Indeed site. You know, um, you know, the link is right there. I'll put the link in the description as well. Check it out. I read this earlier, and I just felt I had to share this. This is when I read this. This is basically something for you guys to think about. It's the indigenous education, enrichment, and development. It's news. This is news to you. You understand? Did you know that the first people encountered on mainland United States were black Native Americans that were referred to as Negroes? This is a fact which is documented and can be verified. I know many people will not believe this. However, there are many things about the indigenous people of the United States that has been, pardon me, that has either been hidden from everyone, mostly in foreign documents or very old archive documents, or have just been omitted from history, pardon me, from historical records and history books. Pardon me, it's late. I felt as if I needed to share this, and I'm reading whatever I want to read. So forgive me, right? But just to touch on that paragraph real quick. This basically this is to the point where you have a lot of documents, you have a lot of links out there, and there's just things in general that just prove there were a lot of us here already, right? No matter who you are, what I'm saying? There was a lot of our ancestors that traveled to these lands way before these heathens, pulled this off. You know what I'm saying? And then, you also have to wonder, when you have the natives, the Mongoloid bloodline at least, when you have these people talking about why they never talk about our genocide. Well, that's because then they would actually have to bring up actual facts. And what are those actual facts? Let's continue reading. In the book, The History of Hernando de Soto and Florida by author Bernard Shipp, there is a description of the indigenous inhabitants he encountered in the 1520s. It states that the complexion of these people is black, not much different from that of the Ethiopians. Their hair is black and thick and not very long. If you recall the early history of the United States, Hernando de Soto was one of the first explorers slash conquerors to navigate southeastern United States. There is even a footnote at the bottom of the page that states this is the first account of the Indians of this part of the Atlantic coast and is much the same as that given by later voyagers. These Indians were black. Why was or is this fact omitted from history books? Why is that? Also, the term Ethiopian is not speaking about people from Ethiopia. The quote, pardon me, to quote the infamous black historian Ivan van Sertima in his book, pardon me, in his book, Early America Revisited, the word Ethiopian as used in this context does not refer to to people from Ethiopia. It springs from Aethiops, Aethiops, which means burnt skin. People of burnt skin. that is, blacks, were sometimes referred to at that point in time in this broad and general way. And the indigenous inhabitants of southeastern United States have been described in this manner. Another explorer, Lucas Vasquez, also explored and settled on the Atlantic coast. It mentions in the 1890 United States Census, it explains why the Allion persisted persisted in slave hunting about Beaufort. Pardon me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. In 1520, these Negroes being valuable as laborers. Could this be the reason why it is never mentioned that the indigenous inhabitants of southeastern United States were black? That these black people, who the Europeans did not bring from Africa, were being utilized as slaves? And that these natives, inhabitants of the United States, were being sent by the tens of thousands to the West Indies and used as slaves there, along with being used here in the United States for centuries? And most of all, could it be that it would expose the fact that, as explained in the handbook in the handbook of the American Indian North of Mexico by Frederick Webb Hodge, there is no doubt that many broken coast tribes have been completely absorbed into the Negro race. Completely absorbed into the Negro race, which means today the descendants of these Native Americans have lost their original indigenous identity and today are being misclassified as African American. History does not want us, the black people of the United States, to know our true heritage. History wants us to believe that our ancestors did not originate on this landmass, now called the United States. Don't worry about y'all. Sorry about that. Like I said, my kids is up. My children is up. Yeah, no, it's okay. Sit down. Pardon me, guys. My children don't want to sleep. If you believe that you came from Africa, you and your descendants will always be a refugee here. This is your homeland. Your ancestors were turned into slaves, and you were told that they came from Africa. It is time for us to rewrite his story so we can reclaim our true inheritance. Peace and love, everyone.